Welcome to SciTech Culture with Steve Kern and Ben Warner, where we examine science, technology and culture in the 21st century. Visit our website at scitechculture.com.
So I was looking at this topic you sent through to me, Steve, about AI, an agentic AI effectively becoming your travel agent and just basically deciding your travel for you. Obviously, we'll unpack that in a minute, but what I wanted to start with was this idea of not having essentially giving away all of your decision making to AI, and because it's a new tool. You should be using the new tool, and it's so much more efficient, and travel, booking travel, figuring out what to do on the weekend, whatever, I guess you can do all of this stuff. But I guess want to go back a bit and just utilize a little anecdote that I remember from my childhood when an uncle of mine was perplexed when we got the first computer in the house, and I took to it real quick, and I was doing a lot of creative writing and all this sort of stuff on it. But then one day something went wrong with it for about a week before we could get it fixed, and then he just sort of said to me, well, you can write with pen and paper, that still works perfectly well. And I'm starting to see an argument that's similar to that with AI being deployed, because AI can give you all of this additional functionality that, say, a traditional computing experience wouldn't. But the big difference I find between that my childhood memory there and what we're talking about with AI is that in my childhood memory instance, you still had to use your brain to create something to put into that computer, and you still had to have that agency to do that. The concern I have with, and as I'm sure you do as well, with a lot of the way AI is being used at the moment, is that removal of agency, because you don't have to think about it anymore. Now, if we're going to unpack this travel agent example, obviously the article that you sent through is like spruiking how great this is. That's nice in theory. Maybe we don't have much time. Maybe we, don't want to be bothered doing all the research and finding what hotels to stay in, what, tour you want to attend, or what flights you want to pick, and do all of that. I actually find that that's part of the fun with some of this stuff, because, you can, in doing the research, you can actually have a better understanding of what it is that you're actually, signing up for and paying for. But to go through the whole thing and just like boil it down to like a 2-sentence prompt, and then AI takes it all over completely, all the way to the point of paying it for you, I find really, really disturbing, and it's not something I'd be comfortable in, allowing it to have access to. If you think about, that sounds simple, but if you think about what you're allowing the AI access to, your bank accounts, your calendars, your friends' calendars, so that they can understand what your friends are doing, maybe your travel history and all of your payment history, so it can have an understanding of what you like to spend money on and all that sort of thing. Oh, but it'd be great, because then I don't have to think about it. I don't know, like, am I not seeing, what is this? How can this not be seen as something that would be concerning?
Dear AI, please check calendars for Ben and myself. Book us a trip, maximum 8 hours travel time for 5 days, somewhere with wonderful sunsets and a swim-up bar. Pay no more than $3,000. How simple, how easy, and of course that's the attraction, isn't it? But I agree with you. If you think that you're gonna if I think that any rational person would be quite happy for AI to check my calendar, come up with a holiday for me, and then pay for me without me doing any more than requesting, that's a big step for me. But I guess there are people out there that'll do it, and I can understand the attraction.
So, it's funny, you just mentioned, like, just using your example there, spend no more than $3,000. will it spend exactly $3,000 because it matched the prompt? Is it being affected by some sort of back end deal that's been had with a travel agent where if they're incentivized to spend more money on a particular flight or a hotel or whatever, that your prompt said up to $3,000, so we'll make sure we spend every single cent that's there. Whereas I thought when you've got agency over the control over, the agency to control what you're actually booking, that maybe you have a $3,000 budget, but you end up saving $500 because of the research that you did. Whereas you would have no idea what the AI has put together for you and what choices are there.
Yeah, well, I think that's really the obvious example you've picked out there. We have already probably all had the experience where we go to a travel agent and the travel agent says, well, if you book 7 nights accommodation through us, you'll get an extra $1,000 travel voucher or something like that. And then you ask a few more questions and you suddenly realise that $1,000 travel voucher that they're going to give you is actually going to cost you $5,000 more than if you booked your own accommodation. I don't doubt AI will be doing exactly the same thing, but as you say, you won't be able to ask AI these questions, or maybe you will, but if you ask these questions, then the convenience of AI doing it all for you is gone. So I do wonder, but I think the really interesting thing here is, are people that comfortable and that affluent that rather than actually think about and put a bit of effort in to try and patch together their dream break, they're just happy to sit at a swim-up bar chosen for them by AI? That doesn't sound that great to me.
It's interesting, put that way, the idea of, because obviously travel research can be a bit of a hassle because there's just so much information to trawl through, but obviously you're not going to dig out the gems if you're not doing a lot of that yourself. I could see a place where, can you suggest a few things for me, but that's the limit. Like it doesn't like book anything for you. It doesn't pay anything for you. You could do that, I guess, in ChatGPT right now if you like. That might be a more, how should I put it, effective use of the AI tool in this particular case, because, if you need some ideas, that might be a way to start. But just completely taking away all the control from it, this is like a metaphor for everything that AI represents right now. We're talking about booking travel. It can apply to just about everything AI is applied to. Are we really going to allow AI to make these decisions? The amount of times I've been in discussions now where people are like, I'm using AI to figure out what I'm going to do on the weekend. AI's told me how to garden better. AI's given me great lunch options, great brunch options for Sunday, whatever it happens to be.
And the famous one where Gemini suggests that if you put those flowers in water, they'll last till Saturday.
Yeah, who would have thought? I would never have known that if that Gemini didn't point it out. So. And I guess that's that extra level. It's like, what happens to us cognitively too? Like, are we all going to do the Homer Simpson thing? Oh, do I have to do that? Is that what we're going to turn into? That we're going to allow all of this stuff to happen? I would have hoped that there would have been, more people that would be happy to, old school it, if you want to call it, which is to actually have that mental engagement with whatever the activity is that we're asking or that we're engaging in, and not outsourcing it to an AI. Otherwise, we're all just going to become blithering idiots that have got no idea. Like, it's worse than Wall-E as far as I can see.
Well, and just to investigate this a step further, the other thing I found very interesting was that Visa and MasterCard are actually involved in these AI projects. And obviously that's because they have to have certainty around the financial transaction aspect. But yeah, it's almost like giving your money away before it's even in your pocket. I think, Ben, you and I now have to accept that we come from a different generation, but we come from a generation where you practice. So whether it's travel, you practice looking at places to go and working out what you're going to do when you get there, where you're going to stay, what activities are you going to undertake. You practiced your driving to be a better driver. You practiced your financial acumen, by trying investment by yourself, whether it was stocks or property or whatever. Nowadays, there just seems to be a podcast that's probably AI anyway, and some sort of AI tool that will tell you what to do, rather than you actually learn by trial and error. And you just, as you say, it just takes away this agency of choice. It takes away an agency of developing knowledge that advantages you as a person. And I think the real danger is it turns you into Citizen out of Wall-E or Homer Simpson, or a combination of the two. It's in a lot of ways, I don't think it's pretty, even though I can definitely see the attraction of these tools. I just don't know if it's a bit like social media, something we'll adopt, and once we adopt it, it's too late.
Yeah, and it should be worth noting again, I think we've said it before, the tool itself can be used if used in the right way, and you'll actually get, better outcomes from it, or better productivity, or whatever it is that you're thinking about, if you're using it in the right way. In other words, you're not allowing it to drive you. You're the one doing the driving of it. But I'm seeing too much of that outsourcing, and just not that I want to go back on that generational question. I've actually seen people of our generation and older also engaging in this type of frivolity with the use of the AI tools as well, which is kind of making me wonder if it's just triggering a sort of an innate human psychological trait of laziness. If you don't have to do it, then why do I have to do it? The Homer Simpson thing, effectively.
Yeah, and you make one other very good point there, Ben, which is, the tool. Now, the tool might serve you, but the tool's actually owned by the travel company and Visa. So who really benefits from you using the tool is the question. Sure, you get a holiday, but you would have got a holiday even if you booked it yourself and messed it up by your standards or whatever. This is a tool that gives you the holiday that the finance company and the travel agent want you to have because of all their deals. So, yes.
And I should also, maybe just before we move on, I don't even trust a travel agent to do it for me properly, because I know they're upselling me on stuff. So,
on absolutely everything from insurance to accommodation, and I'm surprised there hasn't been a royal commission into it.
So just wait until when AI enters the picture on top of that. So.
It's a black box.
All right. Well, speaking of other levels of frivolity, I was just laughing out loud when I saw that Apple had introduced the iPhone Pocket, or a sock for your iPhone, as far as I can tell. A collaboration between a Japanese designer, Issey Miyake, I believe it's called. Look, at the low price of $149.99 for the small one, USD, or 200, I think it's 240 for the big one. Just a nice little sock that you can sling around your neck so your iPhone can be carried nice and snugly, I guess. I had to laugh at that because this feels very Apple. In so many ways, like the excesses of Apple. I didn't realize this, but I was listening to another podcast that talks about Apple products, and I didn't realize 20 years ago that there was apparently something similar to this for the iPod that was released 20 years ago. Although back then, apparently you could get 6 of them for $30. So I guess inflation kicked in or something at some point. Although, it's a designer label, to go with, to get this fancy sock for your iPhone. But yeah, it's ridiculous, but it still feels like a very Apple thing to do.
Yeah, well, look, I think, once again, when you get a sales team involved and you're charging prices of that level, you only need to sell a few thousand. You've made a substantial profit. If you can sell tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands, then I guess you're almost making as much money as selling an iPhone itself.
Oh, and they certainly know how to make money. I won't begrudge them that as far as that's concerned.
But yeah, I don't know. Does it make Siri work better than when Siri's in your pocket? Who knows? Probably it will at some point. And you ask the question, Siri will be there, can hear it, and respond. And next thing you know, you've booked a trip to a tropical paradise.
Yeah, but potentially. Or, I'm sure there's like a chip embedded in there so that, your wallpaper changes to match the color of the sock that you've purchased. So yeah, it's just a really funny little product that they've come up with. And then at the same time, they're selling, a $5.99 Mac Mini that's uber, like you would consider well underpriced for the amount of productivity and usefulness you get out of it. So, bit of a contradiction there, but that's exactly what they do.
Oh, that's the modern world.
Absolutely. And just finally, and I think this kind of ties in with our little AI topic, I did want to touch on the release of Pluribus on Apple TV, which was it's a really good show. I've seen the first episode now, and it's just essentially about an alien virus that takes over all humans and turns them into positive, very helpful people, a hive mind of positivity, and a dozen people are immune to it, and it obviously drives them a bit nuts, and they have to figure out a way to sort this out. The social commentary wasn't lost on me, given all this talk of we talked about how AI is working and how the tools there, but it's also just that a lot of what's happening in terms of how people react on social media to causes and to other events and all this sort of thing that it's not that unbelievable as far as I can tell.
Nah, I think everything that's science fiction is becoming more and more believable every day.
Absolutely. All right, Steve, we might wrap it up there, and I think I'll go and manually search for my flights for my next trip, and I'll be very comfortable doing that.
Good luck with that.
Absolutely. Alrighty, so that's it for this week's episode. We'll catch you next time.